Oh, it says I got a couple in here. How you guys doing? Everybody hear me okay? I got the truck running, but it's still pretty hot. I'm sitting here in Florida. Well, I see somebody's there, but you don't seem to be telling me if you can hear me okay. Does that mean you can't? Anyway, just need to know if you guys can hear me okay. Nobody's answering. All right, good. I just wanted to make sure because, like I said, the truck's running. Uh, Sitting here in Wildwood, Florida. It's a little bit hot. I could shut it off, but the trucks on both sides of me are running. If I roll down the windows, you hear it pretty good. So let me just give it a minute for some others to come in. Hi, I was just gonna text you and see if you were in there. And Michael Heisey, how you doing, Michael? Glad to have you here. Anyway, I'm gonna give it some time for some more people to come in, but found some interesting information out today, including that actually while all this stuff is going on, there's actually a group that is proposing to Congress uh, a new bill, and I'll get into that here in a bit. And it actually just happened on March 12th, which is hey, Trucker Dave. Oh, you couldn't find it on YouTube. You had to get it from the email. That's weird. Trucker Dave's got a few minutes here. Trucker Dave, I was watching your video yesterday, and I love them trailers you got. He's got some trailers made out of 68 to 72 Chevy pickup beds. Yeah, it's unlisted. Huh. Wonder how I could change that. Give me just a second here. But for some reason, it's not letting me make it listed. There it is. Okay, now I just made it listed. I didn't realize it was unlisted. I was wondering why everybody in here was on the email list and everything, but now it should be out there. Thanks for letting me know that, Dave. I didn't realize that when I put it up a couple hours ago that I was going to do it. And yeah, I guess I messed that up. I was hoping some people would see it, but and now I'll be able to find it. But yeah, found some great information. Actually, I was talking to uh, Brett from Patriot Specialized in Heavy Haul today because I called him out in the video yesterday. And apparently, I sent his wife down a real rabbit hole. She started digging up information about everything she could find about what's going on, which kind of sent me down a rabbit hole with some of the things she found. And I got some interesting stuff about all this. And yeah, I want to. Yeah, sorry, Metro. I had it unlisted. I didn't even know about that till Trucker Dave told me, but we got it. I'm sorry about that. So I'll give it a couple more minutes here for some more people to come in. Yeah, my wife said she had to go to the email to get it, and then Trucker Dave said it's unlisted. So there we go. Now we're getting some more in here. Yeah, sorry for you guys that couldn't find it. I had it listed wrong. What a shame. But there's been so many comments on that video yesterday, and plus I got so many emails, including some of you that are in here, wanting to be added to the email list. So, hey Enrique, yeah, there's another one that was on the email list, and so there's been some confusion here, and of course you got all kinds of trolls on the internet, but I think a lot of people actually took it wrong and says, we're anti-immigrant and anti-foreigner here, and that's not really it. And when I was talking to Brett today, he said, I said, yeah, I guess I got to watch the way I say things because it seems like, I don't want anybody here, and that's just not the case. I mean, and then there's some that say it's a race issue. Look, some of them happen to be different colors, but there's also a whole lot of white Europeans that are also part of this problem. So when I was talking with Brett, he said, "What is the main issue? What do you think?" He said, "I don't think you have much of an issue except English language." And I said, "I think you're right too. I think the English language is the issue." And then that leads to the things with the visas and other things like that. And that's cool that you emailed Sean Hannity too. That was actually my dad that emailed him that had commented on that email. So it's actually an English language issue, and I found a lot of things out about the English language law, and which I always knew about. People say it doesn't exist anymore, and it does. And in fact, I just went to Landstar's cabs class, which means I basically had to sign a new contract and re-up my hazmat stuff. But they always give you new up-to-date hazmat books and the green book. So I actually looked in here to see if there was any changes, and it does say this is up to date. This issue of the FMCSR pocketbook includes all revisions issued on or before July 34, 2024, and the law is still in here, and it's all the same. Actually, Dad, it was my fault. I accidentally had it unlisted. Thank God Trucker Dave told me. For the first 6 minutes, we had like 4 people in here. But yeah. Anyway, but when Steph Taylor, Brett's wife, was looking through stuff, I was actually on the phone with them. He had me on speaker, and she said, "What?" She had found something, and unfortunately, this all happened like an hour and a half ago. So I did find a whole bunch of stuff, but only within the last hour and a half. But I think I found an organization that's on our side, and but that was like really last minute, like 15 minutes ago. But I will get to that here. But there's something in the DOT, and actually I already linked it right down below here. If you look down in the description, the first link in there is from the U.S. Department of Transportation's book or rules. So in 2000, in 2000, President Clinton, actually, which would have been right before he was leaving office, well, 4 months before that, signed Executive Order 13166. Now, that doesn't So the executive order was called the Limited English Proficiency, and they call them Limited English Proficiency people. And it was actually an executive order to enforce uh, Title Title 11 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And basically, what it said is that government agencies must comply with the Department of Justice LEP guidance program. And that's all in the link. It just basically says that people who don't speak English, uh, when they have jobs and stuff, basically the government jobs, they should be able to, help with their, language. They should be able to use interpreters or other things, or bilingual people. But this is kind of specifically saying it's on government agencies. So, in the meantime, the U.S. Department of Transportation, and that's what the link is for down there, has the whole listing of what they put in place. And basically, it says the same thing about you can use phone interpreter, you can use different things, but that is saying as a whole. So I think this is really misinterpreted because this is kind of government employees, and they use some examples. It doesn't actually say anything about CDL licenses, even though they are the Department of Justice or the Department of Transportation. It doesn't actually say anything about CDL license. They use some examples like if if there's road crews that are in a uh, heavily Hispanic area that are going to have a lot of heavily Hispanic employees. Maybe they need bilingual uh, people working there too. They can work with them, and it's kind of interesting to look into. And I could see how this would be taken up to the next level. But it then goes on to show different things that different states did. And actually, the only thing I could see about states is that Iowa has a Spanish CDL test. Now, I know a lot of other states do too. A lot of people were saying that some of these states you can take, somebody said Illinois, you can take the test in up to 30 some languages. I found out that that might not be true. However, they do have study guides in many different languages in a lot of these states. And I don't have a problem with that. And I'm going to tell you why I don't have a problem with that. You need to be able to speak, read, and write English to be successful in this business. And that's great. It doesn't have to be your first language. So many Americans, it's not their first language. But, like I know 3 words in Spanish. That doesn't make me proficient. My wife knows Spanish and lived in Spain for 6 months, and probably is proficient enough to pass the rules if it was, reversed the other way. So if they have study guides in all the languages, if your first language is Albanian or Korean or something, obviously the studying would be a lot better to do it in your own language. It would be easier to study as long as you could then pass an English test, and know that you can read and, read the signs. That's the main thing, reading the signs. Um, I want to give one more update here as we're getting started. The truck driver, we did find out what the DWI was for, and I don't know that it's going to stick. The DWI was for prescription antidepressants, and it hasn't said yet whether they were prescribed to him. If they weren't prescribed to him, it's going to stick. Uh, I can't imagine, unless he has a prescription for Xanax and had taken too much of it. I think if he was taking the right prescribed amount, he would be okay. Now, I know if that's a prescribed drug, so we'll see if that sticks. But um, one of the main problems is he didn't speak English, and we're wondering if he didn't know the traffic was stopping in front of him. Although it did say that he was going 80 miles an hour. Um, and if you actually look at the video of the carnage, like even my picture that I put there, it shows the carnage. You don't see that Amazon trailer. They said it was approximately a half a mile ahead of the accident when he finally got stopped. That's after plowing through 17 vehicles, including a tractor trailer that he had. You'd think that would stop you pretty fast. So from 80 down, yeah. So yeah, there were some problems there. But let me go and tell you about this law that has been proposed. And actually, I need to use my phone for this. I don't know if I kept it up. It's actually the small transportation. Uh, oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah, that he had. Apparently, he has a couple speeding tickets on there. Uh, I guess when you're pulling Amazon loads for pennies on the dollar, you gotta go fast. I'm just looking at my phone here to see if I can get this back up. I had it on the computer and then I put it on my phone because obviously I'm on my computer right now. Yeah, yeah. So I'll go in here and we'll do it again. Um, yeah, it's the Small Business and Transportation Coalition, and this is pretty interesting because this just came up on the third, and I don't know anything about them. There is a link. They have a Facebook page where they just shared this article, and then there is a link to a website. When I clicked on the website, my computer automatically said, did the whole security thing. It wasn't secure, which I've actually had happen to my website. So it might just be over the weekend their security code expired or something, or they're not keeping up on anything. But I will read this whole article, and like I said, this just happened on the 12th. I believe these are some people who are doing what a lot of people are doing and acting on this new administration as soon as they can. Um, But in the wake of President Donald Trump signing an executive order making English the official language in the U.S. on March 1st, some trucking industry stakeholders are concerned about the lack of enforcement of requirement that commercial drivers have a minimum proficiency in English. Trump's order noted that while English will be the official language, the change will not require or direct any change in services provided by any agency. In a March 2 email to Larry Minor, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration Associate Administrator for Policy, James Lamb, Small Business and Transportation Coalition President, stated, "If the agency's policy is still to not place truck drivers who do not speak or read English out of service in accordance with the department's motor carrier safety regulations on qualifications to drive, we request you please change the policy back to placing such drivers out of service in the interest of public safety." So down here, Minor acknowledged receipt of Lamb's email on March 3rd, but made no comment. According to FMCSA guidelines, motor carriers are required to ensure that commercial drivers can speak and read English satisfactory to converse with the general public, understand traffic signs and signals, respond to official questions, and make legible entries on reports and records. And that's exactly word for word what's in the Big Green Bible. So, in a June 2016 FMCSA memorandum, Lamb noted FMCSA removed the requirement to place drivers out of service for English language proficiency. Remember, I talked about this in a video before. That's a memorandum. That is not a law change. They can place memorandums, but it doesn't make it a law change. Pretty much anybody can do it. Well, somebody important, but they don't have the power to just change it. That's why it's still worded like that in the book. Violation. Change the industry standard for determining non-compliance with ELP requirements, English language proficiency. Yep. On Wednesday, March 12, 2025, the FBTC board voted to propose to Congress a new bill, Standards Affirming Fluency in English, or SAFE. I wonder how long they worked up to get that acronym correctly. Motor Carrier Act of 2025. Part of the bill relates to proficiency in English. That section of the bill reads, "The states shall be required to test for English proficiency during commercial driver's license knowledge testing to confirm drivers of commercial motor vehicles can read and speak the English language sufficiently to converse with the general public, to understand highway traffic signs and signals in the English language, to respond to inquiries, and to make entries on reports and records. This requirement shall not be waived by the Secretary, and the Secretary shall require Department enforcement personnel and the states to place out of service any CMV driver found to not be able to read or speak the English language while operating a CMV." it actually goes on here to show one of the many accidents that have happened because of this. Lamb is also asking for a reconsideration of a request to re-audit FMCSA as a follow-up to the 2002 CDL standards audit. It goes on to say a whole lot more, and if you guys want to read that, I did put the link down in the description also. But so this tells me that there is something on the books. There is somebody working on this. I also got from my new friend Michael Lombard, who is he's actually with Truck Parking Club. He sent me an email yesterday. It's actually in the Facebook, Spotify, an article about this. So things are being done. Mike from Bonehead Truckers got back to me this morning and said thanks for reaching out. He said there's a grassroots movement going on right now, and he's finding out that there's more and more people. He also told me he'll be at Mid American Truck Show next week, so hopefully I'll run into him there because I told him I'll be there. And this is really a good time if we want to get some other people on board. But I really don't think it's going to be all that hard to get change with this administration we have. I just think that the right people need to find out what's going on or need to know that this is happening. There's a lot going on in government right now, and they are working real fast, so they got a lot on their plate. I've heard some good things about Sean Duffy. I don't know anything about him really. I read a little bit up on him when he was appointed, but I really don't know much about him. But I think that if it gets in the right hands, I mean, people are being deported out of here by the millions. I don't know millions, thousands anyway. They're being deported out, and I think a lot of change is coming. But we'll see. But again, it's crazy all the people that wanted to turn it into a race thing because it's not. It's an English speaking thing. Um, you know, that's the problem, and this is one of many accidents that have occurred. The what was the last one before this? There was. Um, sorry, I was looking at something out the window. There was. I guess Missouri was the last one. Colorado was right before that. The guy in Colorado, which that he was the one that had been deported so many times, I think 16, 17 times. I don't totally remember the story. But I am not anti-immigrant. Pretty much everybody in this country came from immigrants at some point. I don't know. One side of my family seems to date back to the Mayflower, but my grandfather on my dad's side, his mom they came over from Ukraine in 1900. I don't know if his mom did or his grandfather. So, everybody had come from immigrants at some point. My wife has, Italian and German family, Irish. I don't know. They drink a lot, so it's Italian. um, but yeah, so I don't. That's not the problem. People coming over here. The problem is these visas when they're coming over here with the visas, and then they don't actually have to know how to follow the language. They get the visas over here, and then we find out that the government was actually funding this to happen. Um, yeah, you're exactly right, Mitchell. It's not a race thing at all. It just so happens that the last couple there was, well, this last guy was black. He was from Ethiopia, and then the other one was I think he was Indian, the one in Missouri, and then Mexican in Colorado. But like I say, there have been problems with a whole bunch of different ones. You know, we all remember Chicago a couple years ago, and not much has changed there. I mean, I believe that governor went to jail, didn't he? I think the governor of the state went to jail for basically giving out CDLs or being part of it. I don't remember. That was a long time ago. Too much bad stuff has happened since then. Um, but that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. What this movement is. It's not saying I said in the video, I was really mad in the video. I said just get out, and then I was like, you know what, just get out of the truck. I don't. You don't have to get out or go find a country to drive in. But there is. It's just gotten too bad, and then people say, well, that's not the problem. Well, no, it's not the whole problem. There's many problems. I did a video on a white guy that drove into into a construction zone, killed 5 people. It was really sad because when I went into my editing program to make this one, I give it a name, and that's not its name forever. In fact, I delete them as soon as they're up there. So I just give it a name. I put uh, 5 people killed, and it said that name's already been used. I was like, oh, that's right, that North Carolina, killed 5 people, and Amazon and FedEx keep hiring these unqualified foreigners. I do think companies should be held accountable, and actually, I don't know if the person who made this comment is in here. Said, what about insurance carriers? Can't shouldn't insurance carriers? You know, you know, a lot of them have high standards. Shouldn't they be required? Requiring trucking companies to actually have licensed drivers, or are they just insuring them? I know a lot of companies are self-insured. You know what I mean? Most all big companies have some kind of self-insurance, but um, most of these companies that are hiring, these are smaller ones, smaller companies. Um, I mentioned the majority of these accidents occurring are foreign drivers watching TV or phones on iPad, not paying attention. Um, Richard, we're going to find a way to contact Duffy. I think we're finding, with this. Um, I think word's getting out. I think word's going to get to Duffy. My dad was working pretty hard yesterday on seeing if there's a way to get a hold of him. And did you say, Dad, there's no way other than snail mail that, or they make it really hard to find? You couldn't find anything other than snail mail uh, for Sean Duffy. But yeah, it's going to get to him. I mean, you know, Bonehead Truckers has 10 times more subscribers than me, or 15. And he was really mad yesterday. Um, Mother Trucker did a video about it. There's been a whole lot more people doing it about it. After I did that video, my friend Jason, Zip Tie Securement, he did a video about it, and we had actually been talking about it ahead of time. Um, we know that, I said I was going to talk about other YouTubers. Of course, now Brett, I said he was going to be involved, from Patriot Specialized. And um, Trucker Dave, you still in here? Because I got to believe you're on board with this. um, I'm pretty sure he said he has a couple minutes in here, so I don't know if he had to take off then or not. But yeah, there's other guys getting involved. Yep, there he is. I'm here. So, right there, that's at least 4 YouTubers that are involved. And the other problem is getting this out. So this is, truck drivers. I don't know if everybody in here is a truck driver or connected in some way, but they're, this is a public issue. Even more than a truck driver issue. We're mad about it because it's our industry that this is happening to. But these people that are being killed are just everyday citizens. Most of them aren't truck drivers. Actually, that guy the guy in Colorado. If you guys remember that story, um, just got emails. 3 more people wanting on the email list. If anybody remembers that story, he actually owned a trucking company and took training very seriously. It was kind of a, you know, really sad to hear. And yeah, putting blemish on the trucking industry. I have to go to truck drivers school now to get CDL, so why shouldn't they? Yeah, I was talking earlier about that, how truck drivers have to go to truck driving school now. And I actually never did. And I'm not saying anything bad about truck. Well, there are a lot of truck driving schools to say bad about, but I feel that the actual on the road experience or on the road training that I got was probably way better, than actually going to school or being in a truck with 4 other people where they're switching out. And my trainer, I say this a lot. My dad's in here. My dad, well, he taught me how to drive truck at a young age around the parking lot and stuff. But when I went to get my license, my dad worked for a company that I ended up working for them then after I got a year's experience, but they didn't allow his insurance never would allow it. So my buddy Tony had trained me. It's funny, I've been driving for 23 years now. He passed away almost 2 years, almost 2 years ago, and still kind of hear him yelling at me sometimes. But we remained good friends up till the end. In fact, when he passed, his name's on my truck here. But Yeah, so I never went to school, but yeah, they require the school now. And sorry, I had my mouse in the wrong place and gave a pop up across my screen here. But so this is the problem, and what I had said at the end of that video about it needs to be this one issue. And that's because a lot of times these things, I know, as long as I've been driving, you were talking about the trucker strike, and there have been movements. There was actually one that started out pretty good a couple years ago, and then they started adding things to it. Oh, well, since we're going to the White House, we'll add broker transparency. And since we're going to the White House, we'll add this and we'll add that. We should add minimum rates minimum rates per mile, which I actually got that comment. And guys, I get it when people say that. We need minimum rates per mile. Okay. The government needs to give us minimum rates per mile. No, the government does not. That's a slippery slope when the government gets involved in something. And if you say they should put minimum rates per mile, does that mean they should also put maximum rates per mile? Yes. All truck drivers must make at least 60 cents, but nobody can make more than 70 cents. Yeah. Keep government out of things. Anytime you can keep the government out, you're better off for it. And quite frankly, if you're a good truck driver, you don't need minimum rates. They're going to pay you. Yeah. Right, Mike Heisey? I'll give you 50 cents a mile to come work for me right now. That's cash. But yeah, you're right on it. And I remember years ago when this movement happened, I don't even remember what it is, but if you remember, it ended up there was one guy, like, they had a get together before there, and then they had the one guy that was out there, looking like, dirty truck driver, and he decided to look around. He gave the camera the finger, and that was like the Michael, I'll get back to you on that. Yeah. You don't even got to pull all them axles, Michael. Just 8 axles, 8 to 10 axles, 50 cents a mile. Your truck. You got to use your truck. But yeah, so it turned into a big thing. In fact, actually, Kevin Rutherford was actually behind it to begin with the original message. And I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was an anti-ELD thing, or this was like 2000. I had my Volvo at the time. In fact, I remember I was in Texas when it went on. I want to say it was around 2000. I want to say it was 2014 or 13 that this happened. There's been other movements since then. There was yeah, that movement did fall on its face. And then if you remember, there was another one a couple years ago. In fact, I remember, Michael, you might remember this. There was a Landstar driver got involved in this, and because she had a huge bunk truck, she was the one that they focused on. And Myron C.H. Robinson. Yeah, they focused on her truck, and they decided to slow down traffic. I think it was around the Beltway in Indianapolis. Slowed down traffic, big Landstar star on the side, and I'm pretty sure she didn't make it out of Indianapolis with that star on the side of her truck because lease was canceled immediately. You can't be fired from Landstar, but lease cancellation is being fired. You just still have your truck. Now you got to go find some places to make money. But yeah, there was that convoy, and yeah, that was actually the first one I was talking about, the convoy to DC. It actually started with a couple get-togethers ahead of time, and then I remember they all met at Doswell. That was like their meeting place, and then they were all going to truck up to DC and drive slow around the Beltway. And it ended up being like 3 trucks. They drove slow. 2 of them got pulled over, and it was over. Yeah. And really, how slow do you have to go to slow traffic during the day on the DC Beltway? At nighttime, 80 miles an hour around there is uncommon. But during the day, how fast are you going? You know what I mean? And who volunteers to go to the DC Beltway anyway? But yeah, it was that convoy, and then there's been a couple of them. There's been a few movements, and they just don't really get a lot of steam. But there are a lot of issues that need to be focused on, but handle them one at a time. You know what I mean? This is one I think needs to be handled now, and that's where the focus needs to stay. But it's not deportation, it's not anything, but let's have to speak the English language. I honestly don't even care if they allow the CDL test to be taken in all languages. Now, I know you guys are going to say, what are you talking about? If you can pass an English test, okay, so if you can pass an English test, let's say you have road signs and you have to say what they mean and you have to be able to write them down and say with some degree, not everybody speaks well. And let's say you pass that English test and then you go to take the actual CDL written test or the computer test. And they say, what language do you want it in? And you say, Albanian. I don't have a problem with that happening because they already proved that they can be proficient in English. And if Albanian is their first language, they go to take that test, they're going to do much better because they studied that way. They're not translating in their head the whole time. And I think it would allow them to do better. I also think that having the book in their first languages would be great because I think it would sink in more. Think about studying. It's most of us truck drivers weren't very good studying in school. You know, Now can you imagine you're trying to study, you're trying to memorize this, and then you're also trying to transfer it at the same time. So the rule should just be you have to be able to read, write, and speak English. So have an English test that pass, and then allow the actual test that is the safety, the parts of the truck. You need to do this. How far do you have to stop from a railroad? Okay, how far do I have to stop from a railroad? Which, by the way, I don't know anymore. I do know the hazmat rules, Mike, but I don't know anymore. But um, how far do I have to stop from a railroad? And then you got to translate it in your head. Wouldn't it be better that safety issues like that they were allowed to do in their language as long as they can read the signs and say things? So that's my point on that. I really don't have a problem, and if they took the CDL test in their own language, as long as they passed in English, we are a country built, on pretty much every other country of this world. So I don't mind that still happening. It's just the CDL, the CDL people have to read the signs. That's it. I even told Brett earlier. I said, yeah. I told him that. He's like, what? I said, I think if you hear it, you're gonna agree with me, and maybe you guys won't agree with me, but it's just that whole translation thing I was thinking about. That if they're taking the test, and it's just about this. What does it matter what language they do that in? Because the important thing is that they know the road signs. And um, yeah, you're right, Mike. What did, what did Dad say that is? Oh, yeah. Anyway, what about when they're stopped for inspection and can't communicate with the officer? That's exactly right. That's why I'm saying there has to be an English test ahead of time. Read, write, speak, be. You know, how many people, I don't know how many of you guys saw that short that I put up the other day. Actually parked right here to the right of me was a 1957 Kenworth. The guy still worked it for a living. It had a flat top Peterbilt sleeper on the back because he said with that cab there was no big hole sleeper that would fit on it like the other than the Peterbilt one. And then he had a mid '90s Detroit Series 60 set up in it. But he was Spanish. It was hard to understand some things that he said. Especially when he got excited about the truck and started talking faster. I said, "What was that?" And but he was an American. Broken English is okay. There's many languages. you know, I, how many people can understand native-born Bayou people? I mean, sometimes, even the language is just within America here. So, and I know, I know why Terry's asking that. It's because we have a good friend that I mention a lot. I actually consult with him a lot. I've known him since middle school. In fact, we always joke. We spent a lot of time together. We always joke that we took different paths. Well, I say I went down the right path and he got sidetracked, and he says the same thing about me. But he's a DOT officer. He's actually a local township police officer in Lancaster County, but he's their guy that drives the pickup. He's the motor vehicle expert. And he's a good guy. If you get pulled over by him, you're going to get a fair shake. He's one of the good guys. And, it's been his complaint. He's had a lot of problems with it. And they told him he has to, if they pull out their phone and translate, I mean, he said a level one inspection, you know, anybody else could take an hour. If there's no problems, goes over the truck. It's at 6 hours with that. They don't understand anything he says. He's got to translate to them. They got to translate back. And so, yeah, that I don't think that's true. I know what you're getting at, but I don't think it's true. Again, what I'm saying is they can take the test in English, but allowing them, once they prove that they can speak English, there is no requirement that you have to take the test in English. They're not doing that. The requirement is that you have to read and speak English. But I believe that allowing them to do it in their own language would actually make them more proficient at the test. You know what I mean? Because all they have to do is know that um, that they could read read and write. So yeah, this isn't like you have to be proficient in English. Everybody needs to be proficient in English. Everybody needs to know how to drive an 18-speed truck. Everybody needs to, be exactly like I am, or you need to know how to drive a twin stick B model Mac or things like that. Lots of different people, and really the only concern is read and write the language. Read, write, and communicate in the language. Um, and the reason I say that is because, of course, we do have the other problems with the visas and stuff. But if they actually enforce this rule and continue to enforce this rule and shut down the companies that are allowed, um, yeah, if they, get rid of the companies, it will end the visa problem. I mean, it will end that if this starts getting enforced. The problem is that it's not being enforced. Where'd you hear that? Didn't you see the beginning of me talking about the Trump thing? That he announced that English is the national language, but it's not going to affect any agency in the United States. I mean, that's what I got out of it. Basically, that's what it said. But it just said in here that it just said in here that it's not going to affect agencies. But I don't know. I have to look into it more. Again, a lot of this stuff I just found. Like I say, I talked to Brett's wife Steph. She said she spent about 6 hours today looking into stuff, and she and I was 2 hours away from this live, and she started telling me stuff, so I started looking into it. So there's a lot more to learn. So basically, that email list I got, and by the way, I'm not going to give away any emails, even like if I do join with somebody else, if there's a bigger movement or somebody else is doing stuff, I will not hand over emails to anybody. I'll email you guys and tell you what's going on and let you join things enough. And language barrier plays a big part in all of this. However, the common sense and knowledge is the bigger issue here. Well, yeah, a lot of these guys are getting their CDLs through these fly-by-night CDL schools. Yeah, actually, I was just up in Doswell, Virginia, the other day. I guess it was a little bit over a week ago, and at the little truck stop that's well, used to be a hangout. Used to be a pretty cool truck stop even before my time. My dad tells me, but um, I was hanging out there a little bit for the night, and when I left, they had a sign down there: CDL school, $2,500. I was like, okay, like to see what that is. 2 week school, 1 week school, quick test. I don't know. They got to make money. You're right, Jeffrey. I actually got a comment from a guy that he didn't. Um, it was actually when I posted the Arkansas thing. He didn't say where he works, but he is a CDL trainer for I assume a big company. He said for a company, and CDL trainer, and he refuses. He actually says he won't pass English-speaking people, and then the school passes them anyway. I guess the school I don't know if he's just a teacher, but he said that if they don't speak English, he follows that rule, and they fight all the time. But yeah, he doesn't. So he doesn't do it, and the school pushes him through anyway. There was a Dad. You remember this? We were at S&H. We just bought trucks from S&H. There was a guy there. Um, he was the recruiter, but he also handled. They weren't a huge company, but he was a recruiter, and he did all the training and everything. Well, they hired a guy right out of school and put him in with a trainer. In fact, the trainer's name was Gus, and came in. They said, 2 weeks or something of training, or 3 weeks. And Gus said, "Man, this guy isn't ready. Give me a couple more weeks with him." So I'm telling you, he's not ready. He said he'll get there, but he said, "No, we're pushing him through. He's going." He already had his license, but this was his first job and did the training. And no kidding, his first trip out, he came back, pulled in the parking lot, and hit that recruiter's car with the tail of his trailer. So that was a pretty funny story. That was sweet justice there for our buddy Gus. But yeah, love the channel. I have a question. I'm 37, just got my CDL. What's your suggestion I should do? Driving local, I applied at the road company, and they said no to my experience because it was distracting. Huh. Well, I'd look at some small companies. So, and maybe there's a lot of truck drivers in here, so maybe some other guys can give you advice too or know something. Uh, well, you just got your CDL, so that's a problem. A lot of the smaller companies that would hire you, usually their insurance requires at least a year and stuff. And then if you go to the bigger companies, yeah, don't go to Super Ego. But if you go to the bigger companies, they're going to pretty much own you. You know, I assume you didn't get your CDL through a company, so that's always a good thing. I always tell people not to get a CDL through a company. Probably just pay the money. That way you have options and not a contract. But I don't know. I don't know. You're driving local. I mean, if you like well, don't feel defeated. I mean, you have a job, so um, you get some experience under there. You'll be able to get a job. Um, yeah, Maverick. Where are you from, Eli? Um, yeah, like I say, there's a lot of truck drivers in here. Some of us are good truck drivers, but my dad's in here, and so is Mike. So there's exceptions. But Michigan, okay. Um, yeah, like you said, lots of times insurance doesn't allow hiring someone without so many years of experience. I don't know. I really don't know anything about Michigan. I haven't been up there all too much. Uh, what kind of what kind of home time do you want? Like, if you're a guy who wants to stay out for a long time, a lot of times these big companies may be a good place for you to go. If but that all depends what kind of family, what kind of family life you have, how much you want to be home. Um, yeah, that's another problem. Guys that just start out don't have experience, but if you get turned down, how do you get the experience? Yeah, and it gets harder and harder. I guess I was pretty lucky. I said my buddy Tony trained me, and then he was with S&H Express, and they were taking guys right out of school. Wasn't a great job, but I worked there for a while and got. I want to say I worked there only 9 months, because then my dad worked for Amy Carriers, and they paid real good, and I went there. I know he needed a year experience, and he kind of slipped me in a little bit under a year or something, and I guess his insurance company didn't pick it up on him. She said, whatever, 10 months is okay. So now I had a pretty good job. Actually, my dad worked there for 11 years, and I only worked there for about a year. They great people, great company. Problem is, they did pretty much all Northeast regional, and that wasn't really what I just didn't see having a career in Northeast regional. You know, it's a lot of Massachusetts and stuff out of Lidditz, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, upstate New York, which I still love going to upstate New York, and you know, they were a company that really honored seniority, like companies should really honor seniority. But so guys like my dad that had been there for a while, there was about six of them. They would get, you know, when the runs came up going south or west, the senior guys were getting them, you know, and so I just didn't see staying there the whole time. But yeah, I'll tell you what. Yeah, Eli, if you want to, if you're interested in flatbed work, man, I got to tell you, I have dealt with a lot of TMC guys um, at when I would do the building. They do a lot of TMC guys are on there, and I've helped a couple of them out. Um, there was a guy came over and looked at my load the other day, and he said he was a new driver. He had been on his own for 3 weeks, but he trained for a long time. And they do a crazy long securement class and target class. And he came over to look. I had rolls, and it was roofing material rolls, you know, stacked up. And but he came over. He said, "I was thinking about belly wrapping that." And I said, "You don't need the belly." I said, "You won't need the belly wrap these because of the way they pull together." Um, but every time a TMC driver has come up to me, and it was a new driver or even a trainee, it wasn't that they didn't know what to do because they had extensive training. They just were questioning how other people were doing it, which is what I do too, question how to do it, you know. But they knew the belly wrap technique, and man, if you've ever seen, I mean, every TMC truck that goes down the road that's tarped, it's like a Christmas present. You go in the yard, it's like a, you know, under a Christmas tree. I mean, they go through some serious training. I know people that have been very happy with them. I know they got nice equipment and good loads. But that's if you want to do flatbed. But again, with your experience, they're gonna keep you out of there. But you're too far north for there. I thought they were a 48 state company. I just can't believe they didn't want you. Aren't they out of like Iowa? I think they're out of Des Moines, aren't they? Um, oh, okay. Do you like your job, Eli? I mean, it's an okay job. Because if you like your job, you know, if you like your job, I'd probably wait, you know, at least a year and then maybe start looking, or until you have a year under your belt and then start looking. Oh wow. Yeah, Maverick is another good company. I don't know what their hiring area is, but I'm pretty sure they're a nationwide company. They're located in Little Rock, or North Little Rock down there. So yeah, yeah. Rail's a company I don't know anything about. Um, I know they're a training school, but I never heard anything bad. Uh, you know, Werner has always been a good company, and yeah, Werner's always been a good company. You know, years ago they got such a bad. Uh, uh, you're right, Eli. But I'll tell you what: if you're not in a miserable job, you know, I mean, how much experience? How long do you have? Like, how much experience do you have? Um, yeah, years ago, remember Werner was the laughing stock because they were the first one to go to ELD. In fact, they went to ELD before I was driving truck. I want to say like late '90s. But if you remember, Werner had gotten in all kinds of trouble, and then decided to go to the ELD. I don't even think they were ELD at the time. I don't. Yeah, well, I guess they had mostly like Series 60. Oh, Eli, I would wait and hang out at your job for 4 more months. Yeah, yeah, they went ELDs. They were kind of the laughing stock of people that were saying they were a horrible company and everything, and but they're just they're good companies. Um, yeah, Eli, I got to tell you, I got to think there's companies out there that after a year, would hire you, and I'd wait it out 4 more months. Besides, you're coming into summer. Michigan's a good place to be. Who wants to be? I'm in Wildwood, Florida. I sure don't want to be here in 4 months. Um, but yeah, 8 months experience, you're almost there in a year. So yeah, does anybody have any questions or anything? What we're doing. If you're on that email list, you're probably going to get a couple different emails here over some time. I just even learned about this company. What are they? The Small Business Transportation Coalition, and I'm going to learn a lot more about them and see what they're doing. But yeah, basically, there was a whole lot of things going on. Uh, yeah, I should remove your license for you right now. You got to update your hazmat too, and I can't pass one of them. Two links in the description are the USDOT explanation of the limited English proficiency and their take on it and what they say, and um, oh, the other link was for the article about the Small Business and Trucking Coalition uh, and their proposed the bill that they proposed to Congress on the 12th, which I don't know if they proposed it yet. It said that they voted to propose it to Congress, so I don't know if they actually did it, and that was dated the 12th. And AK, you are totally right. It was, yeah, shortage of truck drivers. I don't know that I ever saw it. Yeah, but I don't know. I really haven't known. I mean, I've been with Landstar since 2013, and so I really haven't been in the market for a job to see what other people are paying. I'm an owner operator, so I haven't really followed you know what mileage rate is or anything anymore. So I really don't know that there. But that's what I've heard. There never was a truck driver shortage problem. What there was is a truck driver's willing to work for 30 cents a mile shortage problem, and I guess they fixed that. And yeah, I had my good friend Doug Weber. I'm pretty sure it was him the one time. He was actually down two drivers, and he said, "You know anybody looking for a job?" And I did know somebody looking for a job, and I said to him, "Not anybody I'd recommend to you." And he said, "I appreciate that." And it's because I know many people that I would recommend to him that are all pretty happy with their jobs. With this one particular person that I knew was looking to get out of what he was doing is not somebody I would recommend to, somebody of the quality caliber as Doug Weber's company. So, and as soon as I said nobody I would recommend to you, he said, "Oh, thank you," because he knew it'd be a waste of his time if he got that recommendation. So, yeah, so yeah, they say truck shortage problem, and I bet the truck shortage problem could be shown, and I bet you it's company drivers and super ego, and it's yeah. You know what, Jeffrey Coon? Actually, you can put some questions in here about Landstar. There's at least two other Landstar drivers in here that I know. One is Mike Heisey, and the other one's my dad, who is going by Life on the Road with Three Dogs. Um, yeah, they're both Landstar drivers too. So you might get a better answer from us. I pull flatbed. My dad pulls an RGN, and Mike is a super hauler. Mark Lyons always hates when I say super hauler because super hauler isn't the thing. But I don't mean it a joke like super trucker. But what I mean is that they haul the super loads. It's like reversed. I knew I had to adjust this side, and I keep reaching for the wrong side. But okay, Roscoe's with Landstar. So yeah, go ahead and ask your Landstar questions in here because I think you'll actually you might get a variety of answers. What do you pull, Roscoe? What kind of trailer? By the way, I said I'm flatbed, and my dad is RGN, and Mike is. I assume Mike's always done something in the flat, but me and my. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can contact me anytime on that email. I've actually been a little backed up, so if you contact me on that email, I did read everything that everybody said, and there had been so much adding up between the comments online. Then I was dealing with trolls online, and trolls online, and then I had 45 people ask for email, so I couldn't actually respond to everybody, which is why I did that group email today. And it's actually why I decided to do that live. I called my wife today, and I was like, I was a bit overwhelmed. Not so much overwhelmed, but there's a lot to do. And I was like, you know what? Maybe doing a live is just the best way to address this because there was some misconceptions I wanted to. I was really fired up. Bonehead Truckers had me really fired. Well, Bonehead Truckers had me really fired up because he was really fired up. And I mean that one truck driver when he turned to the other one, and he's like, dude, the people are dead, and he started breaking down. I was like, I was so mad. I was like, yeah. Yes, Enrique, I didn't do it yet. I want to do it. And actually, my wife's on here. Terry Finch is my wife. So I'm going to write something. And actually, she might know enough to write it for me. But she does, she's a college graduate. I am not. She's a two-time college graduate. So she's much better with this. But I usually I write things or like I do some things on Substack or when I do something that's going out there, right, and I give it to her and she edits it pretty good the way she likes it. So yes, I do want to put together a letter. I also want to put together or find out and send to you guys because I know that there's a way, and I think it's pretty easy that you can get every congressman's email and every state representative's email and or something. It's pretty easy to send through there. So yeah, I'm want to be putting that together. I want to pass out to you guys some other just some other things as I find them. But as I said, if you sent me that email, it's safe. You'll only ever hear from me, and I will pass everything on for you guys. And 99% of drivers now can or don't even know how to adjust the brakes. I'll tell you what, AK, most of them don't have to now. Everything went disc brakes, which man, last year we totally rebuilt the back end on this truck, and I put new rears under it. Everything was replaced. Every brake, every nut, every bolt on basically a restoration from the cab back. And I looked into a disc brake conversion, and nope, it was actually $10,000 just for the disc brake conversion. They actually said it would be easier to buy a cutoff. But yeah, I think in the next couple of years, drivers aren't going to have to know how to adjust brakes. And um, yeah, life on the road with three dogs. That's my dad, Bob. Yeah. Uh, oh, Kurt, I hope you'd be in here. I had a few trucks on LS before. My only issue is that there are way too many hoops to jump through. Otherwise, really like. You're right, and that is the first thing that I warn people about. And luckily, I knew when that it is a ridiculously long process to lease on. Um, even just as a driver, because when I bought a truck for my dad, but we kept in his. Basically, I came on as a driver. My dad still was the BCO, and even that was just hoops and hoops. It was they're fairly picky, but they're also very slow. I don't know if that's changed at all, but I don't believe it has. It was 3 weeks from the time I started the application process, and then it would call back and be like, yeah, there was a problem with this, or yeah, you said you quit this job in 2002. You left this job on September 3rd, and according to what we have, In the computer, it says you left on computer on September 6th, so you got to redo your application. It was things like that. It really is, and I almost think that they do it on purpose to weed out drivers that'll just get mad and leave. But it is very tedious. So if you do sign on, if anybody signs on Landstar, start it about 3 weeks to a month before you actually want to start. Um, oh, Jeffrey Coon, yeah, Jeffrey. I'm talking about at the beginning, signing on. I remember I went through the long, long process of this, and then all right, there's a drug test. Okay, I'll go take it. All right, I took it. And then 3 days later, they call you back and they're like, oh, yeah, we got your drug test back 2 days ago. Why didn't I get a call? Okay. In fact, I remember when I went to orientation, when I was done with orientation, they said, I said, all right, what's next? Because I'm like, there's always something next. I said, what's next? He said, call trailer utilization, get a trailer. I said, I have a trailer. He said, go take a look. Okay. I was so happy it was over with. Um, it's just the tediousness of it. I mean, even when I bought a trailer down here in Florida, and I bought it from my dad. Uh, oh, gotcha. Yeah. Keep in touch, Enrique. That email is good for anything. You can reach out to me anytime on that. Um, and yeah, David, that's fine too. Yeah. Yeah. But welcome to the group there, Enrique. And but yeah, leasing on Landstar, it's just kind of a pain. But once you're on, it's pretty easy. Um, Dealing with Landstar itself can be a little annoying at times. It seems like they always have a hiring problem, like they can't get enough people in their offices. So a lot of times they'll sit on hold for a while. Yeah, Jeffrey, 3 to 5 weeks, I would, yeah, that's not unreasonable at all. Um, but yeah, but once you're on, every now and then you'll call in there and it'll take forever. And actually, they're getting better with that. You're not going to believe this, other Landstar drivers. I called in the other day. I was off work for 2 weeks and had my ELD on duty. You can't fix it after 7 days. Uh, go in and edit it. So I called in, and I called into. In fact, I just got in the truck and realized it, and I had all my groceries on the passenger seat and everything. So I dialed the number quick and went to put stuff away, figuring I was going to be on hold for 20 to 30 minutes with driver compliance or whichever department I called, and somebody answered right away. Like they're like, "Please hold," and then it rang. I couldn't believe it, but they were able to fix the problem. Oh yeah, honey, I leave my cell phone duty all the time. It happens a lot. Because you get like I'll get done, and then I back the truck in, and then I set it to on duty and post trip, and then I pack up everything, and then if I don't think about it right when I leave, it ends up staying on duty. But if it's within 7 days, I can edit it. I just go back, I hit edit, and it all edits down. I show like a 15-minute post trip, and then it goes to off duty, and it's fine. But because the ELD sets ever, it resets 7 or 10 days, but this was 2 weeks. Because it resets, it had already logged that in. So I actually had to have the log department fix it. But that's the first time that's ever happened. Wow. Trailer maintenance answered within a minute. Trailer maintenance has always been the thorn in my side. I just uh, oh yeah, no doubt, Kurt. Yeah, I've heard that, and I don't know. When I started, I thought they used to promise you come out of orientation, you get a trailer in 3 days. Like I said, I had a trailer, so I didn't have to go through that. But I could have sworn, um, yeah, I could have sworn that they used to. So maybe Landstar is getting better. Maybe they've hired more people, and uh, actually because of this YouTube thing and some questions I've asked, our our he's actually the vice president of BCO retention. So he's one of the vice presidents in the company, but his job is basically keeping BCOs happy, and he's very good at it. And and by the way, owner operators at Landstar are called BCOs. It stands for Business Capacity Owner. But yeah, because of this channel, and I've asked him some questions about some things to make sure I got stuff right. I do have Izzy here. I'll have to ask him if they really stepped up the hiring process, because I haven't called in much. But that's weird. Like you say, you called trailer maintenance and they answered right away, and I called whoever it was. Is that operator? No, I think it's actually the logs department. But I called and they, um, answered right away. So maybe they're stepping that process up. Uh, I will tell you, I always wonder about this, and I should ask them about this too, because if you call the hazmat department, as long as I've been here, you call the hazmat department, they answer like that. And I think it's because if you call the hazmat department, they think you have a question, and they don't want to sit you on hold and have you just say, well, forget it. So I bet they've always kept that department overstaffed. But I do know during COVID they had a serious hiring problem. They said they were having a lot of trouble getting people, and people were leaving. And wow, that's funny. They didn't used to hang out at the East Town Mall one. Usually um, it always seemed like anybody Spanish in Lancaster was going to the Orstown Road one, but maybe they knew the secret we knew, that they opened up a new one at East Town Mall, and now everybody goes there. But I mean, that place is 4 times bigger than the one in Orstown Road. But anyway, guys, so the subject of this was the whole English side, and I went through everything, and I'm perfectly happy to sit here and talk. If anybody comes in or does have some questions specifically about that, I pretty much went through everything, but I'd be glad to tell you anything. And I will mention again, the first things I talked about, one was this rule, this limited English proficiency rule that actually dates back to 1964 and then was reinforced in 2000. But it makes other government agencies do certain things, and I explained it at the beginning here, but it is linked down there in the description. I found out about it just before this, and then the other link is for the that Small Business and Transportation Coalition that actually is proposing a bill to change the English language rule to Congress. Um, yeah, what are you doing now, Jeffrey? You don't have to say where you're at. What kind of trail you pull? Um, oh, okay. Your reefer. Do you own your reefer, or like, are you sticking with the reefer, or looking to go other routes? Uh, yeah, that's true. I mean, if you want to learn some things, I usually bypass that whole recruiting, and they changed some things there, so I don't know where they're going to be. They always kept the recruiters all together, so I always bypassed it. I wasn't looking for that, but yeah, they do seem to have like the programs laid out, whether they're true or not. That's scary looking for other jobs. I've told some people recently, like people, I actually get a lot of emails because I put my email. Um, uh, yeah, I always put my email out there. So a lot of people do ask me about Landstar, and if they're coming over, and I always say, so this is what I'll say to you, Jeffrey, if you want to do platform, talk to some drivers, check out, depending on if you don't want to go small company, but I would say go on platform depending on what you want to do. I always tell people, check out Landstar, talk to them, learn about Landstar, check out Bennett or Ace Dorn, but I would just go to Bennett because Ace Dorn is a small part of Bennett. But check out Bennett and check out Mercer, because they're all a lot the same company, but they're a lot of the same company, but they have a lot of different programs. And one program might not fit one guy as much as the next guy. Um, there's a lot of differences that I know. I know that Mercer, our friend Jimmy went to work for Mercer. I know that they have a weird program where you take a load, but you can be bumped off the load. It's really weird. I guess that takes some getting used to, like by a senior driver. But you also have like an advocate, so you basically have somebody finding loads for you now, not a dispatcher, like, but they are working with you to find the load. So while you're going down the road, you're not looking at a load board. Where like at Landstar, you are like, thrown in and here, call us if you need us, but otherwise you're on your own. And so like I know Mercer has that program, and Bennett, I don't know a lot about, but I've been keeping my eye on Bennett. I'd like to stay at Landstar for the rest of my career, but this is trucking and things change all the time, so you never know what's going to happen. So it's always good to know what's out there. But yeah, guys going platform. If they're going platform, I would say definitely check out Bennett, Landstar, Mercer, if that's the kind of thing you want to do, because they are, um, very same, but also different. So, oh, and you know what, Jeff? Reviewer at Matt's last year, that was a good year. They change out who goes to Mid America. Different people go, every year, and they had a real good crew there last year. And actually, Dan Workman was there last year, which I think I heard he's going to be there this year. And Dan Workman is I don't know his exact title. I'm sure if Michael's still in here, he knows Dan pretty well because he is I know he's the head of Heavy Haul. I just don't know what his exact title is, whether he's a VP. And yeah, and the other reason that Dan Workman's a good guy to see is because he was with Landstar before there was a Landstar, and his family actually owned, I think, Pool. Yeah, he comes from the family. I'm pretty sure it was Pool Truck Lines, which Landstar then bought. Jeffrey Coon. So actually, um, Patriot. Brett Patriot. He's leased to A Storm, which they're a Bennett company. And also, man, if you ever see, well, actually at Mid American, their recruiter now, who actually recruits for him, is the Snows, and they drive a big green Freightliner called the Goose. Just look up the Goose, and they're basically recruiters for Bennett now, and they know a lot about them. They really do their homework and talk to you about them, and their very close friends are the Wallaces, which are Landstar drivers. So he basically, the Snows know the companies, and they'll straight shoot you if you're like, hey, I don't really like that about Bennett. He'll be like, well, Landstar might be the way you want to go, or maybe one of the other companies he knows. Yeah, probably should stick with Vans for a while after that. That sucks. I hope you heal up pretty good. So yeah, is Michael Heisey still in here? I don't know if he's still in here. I haven't seen him for a while. But, oh, cool. Yeah, I assume you know who Dan Workman is. I don't. I just don't know his title. And yeah, it's funny, honey. You said about the Landstar and Mercer having huge boosts because Landstar is 10 times the size of the company, maybe 5 times. I forget what Mercer has, but Landstar is a lot bigger than Mercer. But Mercer is hometown is Louisville, so when Nats comes to town, they go all out. They have people giving massages in their booth. They have this. Oh man, Mercer has a crazy booth. And last year, I went over and sat down in the Landstar booth and told one of the Landstar VPs that I wanted a massage. So what? I said, Mercer's giving massages. Well, then they wanted to go over there, but yeah, Mercer puts on a heck of a show, and it's to be expected. It's their hometown, so um, Mercer's actually like, we say Louisville. They're not like in a suburb of Louisville. They are in Louisville. In fact, last year, me and the wife were driving around, and I said I wanted to see where they actually were because I always thought they were on the outskirts or something until our buddy Jimmy went to work there and said, no, they're downtown, and yeah, they are like 10 blocks off of the actual square, and yeah, it's just pretty interesting because it's not something you see much. Big towns, most people move out. Oh yeah, we were talking. I talked to him last year, and then he actually reached out to me when I did the history of Landstar video, which was a video I was avoiding doing because I was like, it's a boring video because they're a holding company, or they're not. It's not one great man started the company, and then it turned pretty cool after that, and then that's when Dan had reached out to me and explained that he was part of the. I'm almost positive it was the Pool family, but I might be wrong. It's one of them because they bought up a whole bunch of companies over time, and I think it was Pool, but I'm not sure. I'll have to re-ask him. Yeah. Uh, Thank you, Mitchell. We're going to see you, right? You and your mom. We are going to see you, right? That's still happening. Yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy. That like I said, I don't know what his position actually is. Like we were talking, like I was saying earlier, I actually talked to Greg Nelson fairly frequently. He's such a good guy, to deal with. But if I have a question about something, a lot of times when I do these videos, especially when it involves questionable advice or when things are going on, uh, I usually try to get all the info. I try to get the story right. Um, but yeah, that's great, Mitchell. I'll tell you what. Friday, um, yeah, I'll give you a call or you give me a call. Yeah, we'll discuss Friday there, and if you're planning to just come to the show, me and Terry we'll make sure when we get by the Bennett booth, we'll get you a couple tickets to the show. I'm pretty excited. For 3 years now, we have gone to that concert to see Tony play, open the show for a half an hour. They would give him exactly 30 minutes. There was no encore. There was no nothing. 30 minutes, he's done. And I mean, now he's headlining, and maybe headlining. My wife told me that they're not actually saying he's headlining, but he was announced last year at the headliner, and of course Colt Ford's in there. So I hope they're, it would actually be pretty cool if they did some stuff together. Like Colt's out there and Tony coming out. It's I don't doubt it, but we'll see what happens. Um, but as far as I know, Dan is yeah, he's definitely the top dog in heavy haul. I heard. I don't know his yeah, actual title, but uh, yeah, I'm sure I have no doubt his influence. Goes everywhere. In fact, when I was at cabs class, the guy who does the cabs class, he's done every cabs class I've had since I've been here. Every 3 years, and the up in Reedsville, Pennsylvania, but he used to be in Jacksonville, and he was talking about some of the real influencers, or the people who, probably will always be in their position because they are so good at it. Like he talked about Greg Nelson. Greg Nelson is so good at his position. They talked about Greg Lytle or Little. Uh, we were actually talking about Joe Beacon because I said I thought for sure that Joe Beacon was going to be the next president. And actually, when I told my wife that, I said they hired a president from outside, and I said, I thought for sure it was going to be Joe Beacon. My wife said, maybe he's too good at his job to be a CEO because CEOs spend so much time, publicity and pleasing people, and especially on a publicly held company like this. And actually, Steve up at said the same thing. Said Joe Beacon needs to stay right where he's at because he's perfect there. And we would actually lose somebody good by him going to CEO. But that was interesting. And, yeah, Tony Justice, Colt Ford. So yeah, we'll see how it is. But yeah, yeah, Mitchell, we are definitely looking forward to seeing you. And like I said, we'll make sure to get you some tickets if you need to. We'll talk more about it and talk about what's going on Friday. And then we will be there Saturday too. My wife's actually, we're going to leave the show a little bit early on Saturday. Well, actually, I don't know. Actually, my wife can just leave the show because she's flying back out of Louisville Saturday afternoon. So whenever she wants to go, she has the rent a car that she's returning to the airport, and my truck's parked right across the street. So, if you guys are there and she takes off from from there, that's fine, and we'll figure it all out. Yeah, let's see if that happens, Kurt. I don't know if you've been following it all. I actually just reached out to Tony because I just wanted to set up a time to have a couple minutes, to do some video with him. He said basically just come by the booth. He said basically, he's dealing with a broken leg right now, and um, I believe where is Purgatory? He's moved it around. I think it's at Mayberry. I think Mayberry's finishing it up. They're not showing pictures of it, but I do follow Mayberry on Facebook, and they are showing their truck. Which, for those of you that don't know, Mayberry Chrome Shop is Bottomley. The yellow trucks, but they have a chrome shop, and they are building. In fact, I believe that truck is called Not Daddy's Money, and it is really nice. Uh, but I do know Tony made a post. Um, he said, man, he said they're going to cut it close on this, but I guess that's the thing. I don't know. Troy Massey just posted a picture of the truck that he's got coming, and all I can tell you is that it's baby blue because the only thing he posted was the frame with an engine sitting in it. And he said, I guess we're cutting this close. So, but yeah, I can't wait to see Purgatory, what he has going on. I talked a little bit about it in the past, and I didn't want to ask too many questions, mainly because I don't want to know. I didn't even want to know what he's doing to it. We know he put them fenders on down at Talladega. He showed it piece by piece, but it's just one thing I'd like to see it just come out because I'd like to see the reveal with everybody else because it's so iconic. Him, like he gets a new job and uh, he gets a new job and they buy the truck that he's always driven because it's just his. uh, I agree with that too, Mitchell. I agree with that too. I do love the working trucks. Yeah, Jeffrey. Yeah, Bottomley. Well, Mayberry. It's theirs. Yeah, it's. Look it up. They have the Facebook. It's called Not Daddy's Money. And I, to tell you the truth, I was actually just talking. I was talking to a buddy here beside me. In fact, he's still here, parked beside me. Last night we were hanging out for a while, and he said, uh, I said, yeah, we were. He said, what kind of truck is it? And I said, you know what? I said I spent so much time looking at the paint and all the custom. I said, I honestly don't remember if it's a Peterbilt or a Kenworth. It's a flat top, long hood something, but I honestly did. It could be a Freightliner. I don't know. uh, but yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. I actually don't love Matt's truck show as much. In fact, me and my wife don't spend a lot of time at the truck show. Since doing these, I spent a little bit more time getting some shorts, but we used to just walk through it fast. It wasn't about the truck show, it was about the convention. And it's because a lot of them trucks have become so over sponsored. Now, I do love seeing the restored classics, the trucks that earned their scars and stuff and got restored. But sometimes these trucks are so over sponsored, $500,000 trucks. And I really don't enjoy that as much as, working show trucks. I mean, just sitting here in this parking lot, the guy next to me you'll see some videos. He's I got some nighttime video last night. The truck's incredible, and it's a 2000 Peterbilt that he works all week. And there was a guy over on the other side of him. I actually put out a short today about it. His name was Randy. He's actually from Mobile, Alabama. Uh, it's a treat. He runs Mobile, Alabama, sometimes to Houston, to Miami, back all the time. That's what he does. But he has a 2013 uh, Peterbilt 389, and he took the Cummins out of it or whatever. I never even asked if it was a Cummins. Took whatever was out of it. It actually has a 6NZ cat in it. It's pretty cool, and I got video of him pulling out and everything. In fact, if you go over and look at my shorts, it's on there. But yeah, these are the trucks I love, or that '57 Kenworth that was parked here the other day. I mean, he still works them, and yeah, you're right. I love the old workhorse. Actually, one of my favorite trucks ever. We were just talking about that. This he shows a lot, not at Matt's. He was at Iowa 80 this year. It's called Sinister 359. And look it up because this guy did nothing to the cabin sleeper. He left every dent, every bit of patina on there, everything. But when you look at it, brand new frame rails, brand new everything. That truck was rebuilt. All he does is show it. But he rebuilt everything, frame rails. I mean, that thing is tight and it's brand new, pretty much as far as mechanicals. But he left the war scars on it. So yeah, look up Sinister 359 and it you'll see what I mean. Um, Should they have in September? I think it's. I'd like to go to the Mayberry show, and I put it on Facebook for those of you guys that saw it. I always wanted to do large cars and guitars, and there was always a date conflict. You always did it right near Mother's Day, which is where my wife runs the Make a Wish convoy up until this year in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I've been one of the top 30 drivers for years in it. Up until this is my last year. This is our last year. We might do the convoy and stuff, but we put a lot of years in it. We're kind of retiring from that. But Tony Justice always did the large cars and guitars right around there, and I couldn't make it. And now, because he had to move venues and everything, it's actually 2 weeks after Mother's Day, and it's at Bristol. So I'll say, because he's been posting, it's in Bristol, baby. I think that's even on the advertisement. Bristol, baby. So we are going to Bristol Speedway. I am definitely going for that truck show. I will not miss large cars and guitars this year. A lot of friends say that they're going to it. Obviously Tony Justice is going to do a concert. Maybe I'll get tired of watching him someday, but I don't think so. I haven't really got tired of playing his music for years. But yeah, Mayberry, I wouldn't mind going to, and man, September, North Carolina, that's got to be a pretty nice, pretty decent. My problem with some of these truck shows is like the one that we have. A good friend of mine, Randy Kaler of Pennsylvania, puts on the Keystone Nationals, and I don't remember when it is every year. Well, actually, I missed it last year because I was Iowa 80 and it was ridiculously hot. I don't want to be at a truck show in the middle of June or the middle of August. So September, I might have to make plans to be down there, and be down there. In fact, I'll have to see. There's a few things going on around that time, and the GBATs, Guilty by Association in Joplin, is going on, I believe, in October. So I'll check it out. Black Pearl took it like 5 times in a row, and he worked that truck daily on top of it, man. I'm going to have to look that up. Freightliner Classic named Black Pearl. That shouldn't be too hard to find. I don't remember it, but, I knew all show trucks, like every famous show truck, like in the early 2000s. I was real big into the truck show world. And then I guess for about 10 years, I might stop at a truck show, but there's so many guys that had come and gone that I just wasn't big into them. I wasn't an owner operator for a while, and then when I got back into it, I had other things going on, and then actually it was the YouTube channel really that got me back into going to the truck shows that I like so much. And I don't even care about showing the truck. In fact, the only reason I showed the truck at Iowa 80 last year is because I knew that would get me a parking spot in the middle of the show, and it did. It worked. In fact, there's nothing special about the trailer that should have been entered, but I was like, I got to enter as a combo because, um, I got to enter as a combo, so I got that parking space. Yeah, I will check that out. Yeah, I did take home a trophy. Yeah, I took home third place for Bob Brinker. I said Bob Brinker. My camera decided to take a snapshot of my dash cam. Oh, yeah, that's what it was gone. Yeah, hmm, interesting. Yes, I know that, honey, but some of us are talking, so I just saw your text. Um, yeah, I'll have to check that out. But do a light show parade night through downtown Mount area. Satisfied just seeing that. Yeah, yeah. I got to look into that. Put that on the calendar there. There's Landstar just announced they call it VCO days, and they just announced that they're doing that at the end of September, which is usually a pretty good time. This year they're doing it in Shreveport, Louisiana. I was talking to my wife about it. I said, we're about 50-50 on that, whether we want to go. And then then I thought about it. The GBAT show is going to be around there. And then if I do the Mayberry show, I don't know. We'll see if I do the Landstar thing. But there's a lot going on around there. But I definitely want to go to that Mayberry one. So, uh, but anyway, my wife just told me I'm boring people. Not really, but as we talked about it, if you're on the email list, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm not going to blow you up with emails. I'm just going to show you some stuff. I do want to get a letter written, and then have Terry will, she'll edit it to make sure everything's perfect, and then I can put that out there as kind of a regular letter, and then you guys can go in and change it or whatever, and send it to your own, your own congressmen, representatives. I could send it to every congressman and representative, but nobody cares unless you live in their district. So people have to send their own. So, um, yeah, I appreciate that, Mitchell. So yeah, I want to get something like that out. I'm going to look more into. I just discovered this right before I did this show to this Small Business and Trucking Coalition, and yeah, I'm going to look into that. So, but yeah, guys, and if anybody's got anything else last minute, if not, I'll probably head out and. Um, but anyway, guys, I appreciate it, and great crowd in here. Lots of new people. I just got the email, Kurt and Jeffrey, and lots of new people. I'm loving it. So we're gonna keep working on this. We're gonna do some other stuff, the history stuff. Actually, I did research, and my wife helped me and did some more research on Navajo, the original Navajo. I'll explain that in the video, and it keeps getting pushed back. So if people stop wrecking trucks and doing everything else, I could probably get this Navajo video out, history video. I know there's a lot of guys that really love that. And yeah, you're right, Jeffrey. Actually, yeah, I get really down after a while doing these videos about stuff like that, and then I like got to do something uplifting, and then those videos never get watched. But I still like doing them, like the cat that was stuck in between the two tires that they actually had a tow truck come out and take the cat, the tires apart. But if you want to see that, go back and look through. It happened on the Ohio Turnpike. They found a kitten stuck in between two tires when I guess it was a doubles and triples driver went to pick up a dog. No, I can't remember if it was on the trailer or the dog. I'm almost positive it was on the trailer, but off the side, they had the, um, they had to take them off. Uh, oh, yeah. Well, you go enjoy that, Richard, and I'll talk to you soon too. And yeah. But anyway, guys, yeah, I love it. Like I say, we're gonna do a little bit more with this. We're gonna follow it, and it seems like there is a grassroots movement. So, like, you know, I'll keep passing out info. Might talk about this some more as things happen. But yeah, I want to get that Navajo video out. There's something that happened in Jacksonville last week that's pretty crazy. You can look it up if you want to. I gotta wait to do the video because I don't feel like I have enough info yet. They haven't released enough info. It'll be pretty interesting to hear what happened now. But yeah, just a few more things coming out. And anybody going to Mid American Truck Show, reach out to me, email me, finchresort@gmail.com if you don't already have it. Or on Facebook, if you're going to Matt's, we can meet up at Matt's. Mitchell's going to Matt's, I know. My dad's going to Matt's. So, and a lot of other people. So, if any of you guys are going and I don't know about it, give me a call. But hey, guys, I appreciate it all. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.